What's up, humanity? So good to see you. Thank you for showing up. In this video, we'll discuss if studying science can make you a better human being. Let's get started. Let's begin with the definition of science. Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. I'm just going to read the definition from my computer and use as many complicated words as I can because that's how you sound smart on a YouTube video, right? I assume you already know what science is, so let me ask you, what is the one thing without which it's impossible to do science? Any guesses? No? Questions. A lot of interesting questions. The fundamental rule for doing science is question everything. Every idea is put to the test, and if there isn't enough evidence to support it, it is simply rejected. That is how the whole system works. And once you begin to adopt the scientific mindset, this becomes a part of your personality. This skepticism becomes a part of the way you look at the world. You begin to question everything. You question societies, you question authorities, you question cultural beliefs, traditions, everything. You begin to think for yourself. You're looking for answers. You won't just believe anything anyone tries to impose on you. You will dig into the matter yourself and you'll try to find the best possible explanation for things. That is when you no longer remain sheep. That is when you become rational. And that seems like a superpower to me. Just in case you have been thinking if there are any other superpowers to grab, yes, there are. I mean, look at what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to have a conversation with an absolutely random stranger, possibly on the other side of the planet, across space and time. Now that's pure witchcraft. If you ever happen to meet a person who, let's say, lived 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, and you tell them that you do this shit on every Sunday morning, they are gonna freak out. They're gonna think you're some sort of a god. Also, tell them I said hi. But they are gonna freak out. You could build a religion based on. Guys, what if Jesus was a time traveler? Interesting idea, right? No matter how interesting it looks, we cannot go off topic. So, coming back to science. Apart from giving you awesome superpowers, science also lets you think in multidimensional ways. Now, I know it sounds like a statement that's just meant to impress you and doesn't mean anything, but it does mean something. Let me explain it to you. So, what do you think I mean when I say science can let you think in multidimensional ways? Well, I'll explain to you just in a minute, but first, we need to find something over here. That's exactly why we are out. This is what I'm talking about. Flowers. Look at them. There are so many of them. It's so beautiful. But the reason why I'm bringing them up is because Richard Feynman was once questioned by his friend who happens to be an artist that why is it that scientists reduce everything down to a level of chemicals where all beauty in nature becomes meaningless? To which Feynman very elegantly replied that that's not the case. Although a general sense of aesthetic beauty is available to a scientific person just as it is to anyone else, Feynman said that to a person of science, there is a lot more to a flower than what just appears on the surface. For example, the flower in itself is a biochemical system. It's interacting with its environment. The flower is interacting with other organisms trying to reproduce. It's a part of an ecosystem. The flower has a particular color, which means that it's absorbing every other wavelength except for that. There is so much about a flower, and that is something you can only see if you go through a scientific analysis of that flower, which is why I say that science lets you see the simple things from a different multi-dimensional perspective. Now, an ordinary thing just like a flower turns into this beautiful, amazing object which can be understood into so many different dimensions. That is what I mean by multidimensional thinking. That is what science does to you. Also, Feynman's original interview is in the description. It's just a 2-minute watch, so make sure you give it a try. It's beautiful. I know all of this sounds like my opinion, and that is because it is my opinion. I mean, I believe in science. I believe that science can make you a better person. But I need to give you something more than my conviction, right? I need to give you evidence. That is what science is based on. It's all about evidence. So don't worry, we've got stuff coming up by the end of this video, so make sure to stick along. Meanwhile, if you have been enjoying this, how about subscribing to the channel or just leave a like? Drop a comment, share this video. Your participation, your support is always appreciated. Moving on, I need to talk about two things before we conclude this. First is the social aspect of being involved in science, and second is the feeling of connectedness that we experience after doing science. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you try to solve the big questions, like where did the universe come from, or what does it mean to be alive, or what's the nature of reality, big stuff like that, when you try to find scientific explanations of these questions, it's just mind-blowing. All right, what makes me sad is people on a regular basis do not participate in such investigations, on such science-based endeavors. Maybe because they don't think themselves to be intelligent enough, or maybe because Instagram with cat memes is just so much more fun. Whatever the reason is, I believe that since we are a part of this universe, we all should spare some time aside to try to understand what it really is. And science does a very good job of doing exactly that. It deciphers the universe for us. It translates the unknown and the natural in terms that we can understand. About being connected, when you understand what your role is in this universe, when you understand what the universe is, how everything works, how you are a part of this big grand story, you begin to feel connected with all of this, with the world, with the universe. I did a video on stargazing, which brushes upon the topic a little bit. If you want to check it, it's somewhere up here. I'll put the card. So you feel connected with this whole universe, you feel a part of it, you feel you belong to this story, and it's a beautiful feeling. I believe it's a feeling worth having. Everyone should experience it. When I first felt it, I remember it was because I had figured out evolution, that I for the first time understood evolution at that point, and it was so amazing, man. It was literally mind-blowing. I cannot put that feeling into words. I hope for you that you feel it too, because it's just too beautiful. So every time I think about evolution, this one fact totally blows away my mind. I think I need to tell you about this. All right, yes, we are going to. But I'm not going to do it alone. Let's find my cousin, all right? And then both of us will tell you. Come on, let's go. Let me introduce you to my cousin. This guy right here. Yep, he is the one. He or she or it, I'm not really sure, but this tree, that's my cousin. In fact, this is a cousin to every one of you. In fact, every other tree in this place is a cousin to me and to you and to everyone. Every organism is somehow related to another organism, and that is because evolution works. Let me try to explain this to you. The very first life form, the very first organism that tried to replicate itself, it did so through a process that was so reliable that it's still making billions of copies of itself. But it was also a process so imperfect that all those tiny mutations piled up over millions of years, and we see all these species that we see today. It is still the same cycle going on. You are still that organism, but over time things have changed so much that there is zero resemblance between you and it. You living your life is a primitive organism trying to copy itself in a sophisticated manner. That's the most amazing thing that I've ever known, and it just blows my mind every time I think about it. It's so awesome. Now let's talk about science from a social perspective. What do I mean by that? Well, science is always practiced in a context of social welfare. It's not an individual based activity. It's not for one person. It's been carried out to benefit the society as a whole. Science is practiced with an intent to push the borders of what we know, to try to figure out and to try to expand the reach of human society. It's never done for one person, it's always for everyone. And this sort of an attitude, well, I guess that really gets into you if you take science seriously. Then you just want to work for, at least that's what I want to work for the greater good, for everyone. I want to know things, but not just for myself, but for everyone. So that's a interesting side of it, that you're always working for society, you're always trying to figure out. That gives you that attitude. It makes you care for everyone in general. That's nice. Another interesting fact is that Science never discriminates. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, if you're rich or poor, what country you belong to, what caste you belong to. Nothing matters. Science is the same for everyone. It's accessible to all, it's free for all, and anyone with a desire to learn can have it. Once you do science, you get used to this level of equality, this freedom, once you concern yourself with the larger questions of science, these trivial distinctions that people have invented, they seem so stupid. It's so hard to take these things seriously once you have tasted the big stuff, meaning of life, what's the origin of life, and stuff like that. It's hard to return to a world and take it seriously once you have taken science seriously. So that's one thing that it does to you. It changes you. It makes you someone else. But what do I mean by the word better? Is it in an intellectual context? Then yeah, science can make you smart, but I bet that's not the reason why you're watching this. What about the word better in a moral context? Can science answer moral questions? What does science have to say when it comes to morality and ethics? Well, science has always been shy about the issue because E equals mc square can tell you that energy and matter are basically the same thing, but it won't tell you if you should go out and commit genocide because life sucks. You're not gonna do that, right? Yeah, so chill. Sam Harris has a very interesting TED Talk on the same issue. The links are in the description, of course. Watch it if that is something that interests you. Also, since we are speaking about science and morality, last night while researching for this video, I found something very interesting. It's a research that tries to link scientific attitude with morality. It tries to establish a direct correlationship between practicing science and making more moral decisions. Now that's what I call a good research topic. So what researchers did was they took up a bunch of students and these guys were supposed to rate on a scale of 0 to 100 as to how morally incorrect they thought a crime was. In this case, a date rape case. After that, they were supposed to rate on a scale of 0 to 7 as to how strongly they believed in science. So what researchers discovered was, that's the interesting part, yeah, you probably guessed it right. The people who strongly believe in science or have science-based subjects like math, biology or physics are likely to condemn the crime to be more wrong. What this does is that it establishes a direct correlation between practicing science, between studying science and being more moral. Now, I don't understand how that works. It just sounds mind-blowing. Also, I cannot think of a reason as to how could that be. I'll put the entire research in the description. There were 4 such experiments. What I just described was one of them. And I'm not saying it's not solid. Of course, it's well established. But my problem with such research is that there were only 40 to 50 students in one set. Now, I believe that's a small number when you have to draw conclusions about humanity in general. And also, there are n number of factors that affect such psychological researches and their outcomes. So it's certainly something, but it's not groundbreaking or it's not changing everything or changing our attitude towards science. So just go through it, tell me what you think about it, tell me if you can think of any weird reasons as to why science and morality could be related in this way. The exciting part is that now this area is open. Now it's out there, other people can look into it, they can research, they can think about it. Now for the first time, people are curious and trying to find out what studying science does to the psychology of a person. That just excites me because inside I've always believed that science makes you a better person, and now maybe soon we'll have the solid, groundbreaking evidence that it does. Maybe they'll make science compulsory or something like that. That would be a fun society to live in, right? It's just going to be awesome from now on. Read the research, tell me what you think about it. So there you have it. That is how science can make you a better person. Let's do a quick recap of what we have learned today. Science can, first of all, make you ask a lot of questions and help you find better answers in doing so. Science can make you curious and help you look at the world in multiple ways. Science can make you feel connected to the universe, make you feel as if you're part of this big, beautiful, grand story because you are. Science can make you smarter. Science can probably make you morally more responsible. That right there is a lot of reasons to believe in science, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching this video. You are awesome. If you just liked what you saw, I have a feeling that you did. Never mind that. If you liked what you saw, then just give me a thumbs up, share this video, subscribe to this channel because there is more coming up. Also, let me know in the comments how you think Jesus solved the grandfather paradox. I am interested in knowing. Stephen Hawking would be interested in knowing. Do you think I'm offending people with this whole Jesus thing? Maybe, but I'm just being curious. I'm asking questions. I am doing science. I'll see you next time.